Deja vu, the accidental save reload. You walk into a cafe, the clatter of a tray, the low hum of conversation, the barista calling out an order, a name you already know before she says it. A black cat dashes past your legs, and then it hits you. You have seen this before. Exactly this. You don't just recognize the moment, you remember what happens next. The man at the window will check his watch, the woman at the counter will drop her keys. In 10 seconds the door will swing open, but you already know who's coming through. Science says deja vu is a glitch, a brain misfire, a small processing error where your mind accidentally flags the present as a past memory. And if deja vu is just a brain error, why does it feel so eerily accurate? Some believe deja vu isn't a glitch at all. It's proof that time isn't linear, that you've lived this moment before, that maybe you are in a loop. Or worse, you've died in another timeline. And if that's true, how many times have you already been here? Mandela effect. Reality patches while you're AFK. Let's do a test. Does Pikachu have a black tip on his tail? Think carefully. You've seen Pikachu 1,000 times. On cards and games and movies. You know what he looks like. So yes or no? If you said yes, congratulations. You've just experienced the Mandela effect. Pikachu has never had a black tip on his tail. Not in the games, not in the anime, not anywhere. And yet millions of people swear he did. Alright, let's try another one. Does the Monopoly man wear a monocle? Of course he does. You've seen him. The rich old man with a top hat, a suit, and that little monocle over his eye. Except he doesn't. He never has. The Mandela effect is the strange phenomenon where large groups of people all remember something one way, only to find out that it never existed like that. At least, not anymore. The name comes from Nelson Mandela. Huge numbers of people remember him dying in prison in the 1980s. They recall watching the funeral on TV, seeing the headlines, even discussing it in school. Except that never happened. He was released, went on to become president of South Africa, and died in 2013. So how do millions of people share the same false memory? The official explanation is that human memory is bad. It's faulty, unreliable. A few people misremember something, then they tell others, and before long, the false memory spreads like a virus. If so many people remember things one way, but history says otherwise, what if history changed? What if these are updates to reality, small server-side patches that overwrite the past, but leave behind a few glitches? What if you just didn't get the update? Some believe this is proof that we're shifting between alternate timelines, that every so often we move into a slightly different version of reality, but our memories don't fully sync. Others think this is just bad maintenance. Reality gets patched, but the developers missed a few details. Either way, if you ever notice something changing that shouldn't be able to change, it's already too late. Missing time. The desync error. It's 3:02 p.m. You blink. Now it's 3:47 p.m. You didn't move. You didn't check your phone. You weren't distracted. But somehow 45 minutes have disappeared. The official term is highway hypnosis. When your brain zones out and drives on autopilot. It happens on long, repetitive roads. The idea is that your brain is awake, but your memory stops recording. It sounds reasonable. Except some people experience missing time when they're not driving. They'll be sitting at home watching TV, and suddenly it's night. A person cleaning their kitchen looks up at the clock and finds an hour missing. Some say it happens when they're mid-conversation. They'll be talking to a friend, and suddenly the other person is looking at them weird, like they just stopped talking for 5 minutes. Some people say that during missing time, they get the feeling that something else was happening, but they just aren't supposed to remember. It's like someone edited the footage, trimmed down the timeline, removed the parts that didn't make the cut. Things we were never meant to see. Bystander effect. When NPCs refuse to trigger the next event. You're walking down a busy street. A person collapses. They hit the ground completely unconscious. A crowd starts forming and nobody moves. You wait for someone to help. Maybe a doctor, maybe a good Samaritan. But instead, everyone just stands there watching. That's the bystander effect. A bizarre glitch where the more people there are, the less likely anyone is to do something. Because everyone assumes someone else will take action. But because everyone assumes that, nobody does. And it gets weirder. There are cases where entire groups of people have just stood there watching something horrible happen even when it would have been extremely easy to help. A person choking in a restaurant, a woman being attacked in broad daylight, even a drowning child. Nobody wants to be the first to move. Nobody wants to take responsibility. It's like they're all stuck in an idle animation waiting for a main character interaction. And what if, just for a second, we consider the possibility that this isn't just human psychology. What if some people really do function like NPCs? What if some only activate when they're directly prompted? And if that's true, then the next time you're in a crowd, look around. Is everyone really playing the same game as you? Doppelgangers. The NPC cloning bug. Imagine walking down the street and seeing yourself. Not a look-alike, not a twin. You. Same face, same outfit, same movements. At first, your brain scrambles for a logical explanation. A coincidence? A weird reflection? But then it looks at you, and you realize it knows. Throughout history, people have reported seeing their own double, and it's almost never a good thing. One of the most famous cases was Abraham Lincoln. A few days before his assassination, he reportedly saw his own reflection in a mirror, except there were two of him. One looked normal, the other was ghostly pale. His wife, naturally, did the reasonable thing and decided this meant he was going to die. And then, well, we all know how that turned out. Now maybe Lincoln was tired. Maybe his brain just filled in an extra image. Or maybe it's just a glitch in the system. Maybe reality accidentally rendered two copies of you for a moment. Maybe you just got a glimpse of yourself from another timeline. Or maybe something else is trying to take your place. Either way, if you ever see someone who looks exactly like you, walk the other way. Fast. Sleep paralysis, the forced cutscene. You can't skip. It happens in the middle of the night. Your eyes snap open. You can see your room, your ceiling, the faint glow of the streetlight outside. Everything is normal, except you can't move. Not a single muscle. Your arms, your legs, completely locked. You try to call for help, but your voice won't come out. And then, you feel it. A presence. Standing at the edge of your bed. This is sleep paralysis, and if you haven't experienced it yet, congratulations. You've avoided one of the worst free trial experiences that the human body has to offer. People describe it as being trapped inside your own body. Science calls it a simple sleep cycle disruption. During REM sleep, the body is in a state of muscle atonia to prevent acting out dreams. And if you break this sleep, your brain wakes up, but your muscles are still paralyzed. It's supposed to last a few seconds, maybe a minute at most, but to the people experiencing it, it can feel like a lifetime. And here's where it gets weird, because for some reason, sleep paralysis doesn't just come with paralysis, it comes with company. People across different cultures, across history, across completely separate parts of the world, all describe seeing the exact same thing, a dark silhouette, watching them. If this is just a random brain glitch, why are millions of people hallucinating the exact same thing? There are two possible answers. 1. The human brain is hardwired to hallucinate terrifying figures when it's in this state, a cruel little evolutionary prank designed to make an already terrible experience even worse. Or 2. These things are always there, and sleep paralysis is just the one time you are actually able to see them. Spontaneous human combustion, the self-destruct glitch. Imagine you're sitting in your living room reading a book, sipping some tea, nothing out of the ordinary. Then without warning, you burst into flames. Not like you knocked over a candle flames. Not like your clothes caught fire flames. No, you ignite from the inside out. And by the time someone finds you, there's nothing left but a pile of ash. And maybe a pair of legs that somehow survived. This is spontaneous human combustion, one of the strangest, most unsettling phenomena ever recorded. Science has a lot of answers, but on this one, they're beat. Some half-assed explanations include the wick effect, where body fat acts like candle wax, slowly burning the person over time. But if that's the case, why does it sometimes stop halfway? Take Margaret Hogan, for example, an unusually hot 89-year-old widow from Dublin. On March the 28th, 1970, she was found burned almost to nothing in her home. The plastic flowers on the table had melted into sludge, and the television screen 12 feet away was warped beyond recognition. And yet, her feet and both legs below the knees were untouched. An inquest was held. The official cause of death? Burning. The cause of the fire? Unknown. Which means either 1. The human body has a hidden self-destruct button. 2. Some people accidentally trigger an irreversible system error. 3. Reality occasionally just alta 4 people in the most dramatic way possible. Whichever one it is, the conclusion is the same. If one day you start feeling a little too warm, and you're nowhere near an open flame, you might have about 3 seconds to figure out why. Quantum immortality. The real-life respawn glitch. You should be dead. That car missed you by inches. Lucky? Maybe. Or maybe you just don't die. Quantum immortality is the idea that every time you die, your consciousness jumps, not to heaven, not to hell, but to the nearest reality where you survived. From your perspective, you never die. You just keep waking up in timelines where you barely made it. Take Frane Selak, a man who should have died multiple times. In 1954, his train derailed into an icy river. 17 people drowned. He didn't. The next year, he was sucked out of a plane mid-flight and landed in a haystack. Then a bus crash, multiple car crashes, a car explosion, and finally he won the lottery. From his perspective, he never died, and that's the terrifying part. If quantum immortality is real, then you will never experience your own death. The versions of you that died, you don't remember them, because they're gone. But what happens when there's no timeline left where you survive? Is there a final game over? Or does reality just keep you going? And if that's the case, how long have you actually been alive? Thanks for watching. Make sure to give the video a like. Bye.